Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Actually, it's a privilege to follow my friend, former judge also from Texas, Ted Poe, and he nailed it on the head. And I'll tell you, following up on that is another travesty going on this week, and that's why I just filed a bill in the last 15 minutes called the Military Freedom Act. We were endowed by our Creator with liberty, but like any inheritance, we only get to keep it if we're willing to fight for it. That is precisely why so many of our uniformed military members have laid down their lives. And the plain fact is that there is no more important purpose for the federal government than to provide for the common defense. In order to do that, there's got to be a military. Though we have all the rights of freedom of speech, even those rights have limits, such as when you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There is, however, no right to trespass. There is no right to obstruct lawful ingress and egress into a military recruiter's office. The city of Berkeley, California, chose not to protect the Marines' lawful right to ingress and egress. They instead chose to aid and abet lawbreakers by encouraging them and passing ordinance to make it easier to violate the Marines' rights. The restricting of funding that is proposed and put forward in the bill I've just filed has been done previously in matters such as the speed limits of states, or to encourage states to limit drinking and driving. So it's nothing new. It has been deemed appropriate to encourage political entities in areas in which the federal government has a vested interest, and it has no more vested interest than what we have in providing for the common defense. But Berkeley and any other city has the right to rule over its own city as they wish, and they're welcome to do that. But the federal government should not reward a city that chooses to obstruct and prevent the obtaining of military members who provide the very freedoms and the umbrella of freedom under which that city acts. They have a right to use freedom of speech, but they have no right to take United States taxpayers' dollars to aid and abet hurting our military readiness. We took an oath in this body, in this room, to defend this nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And those who prevent the United States from attaining military members are not the nation's friends. Though such a city may deserve punishment, all we're trying to do with this bill is just not reward them for hurting our national defense. Other city leaders, such as those in San Francisco, Toledo, Ohio, like the mayor there, have snubbed or restricted our military. They need to be aware that when they begin to prevent the military from having enough troops to protect us and being militarily ready, they should not expect federal subsidies to assist them. It is true that the actions that are addressed in the Military Freedom Act are mainly actions or omissions by community leaders and not all of their citizens. We understand that. They're good citizens in each of those towns. But the choice of the citizens is either to replace the hurtful leaders or bear the consequences or move. The old adage is democracy ensures that people are governed no better than they deserve. Therefore, those cities either deserve to have better leaders who don't hurt our national defense, or they deserve not to have funds to reward their harmful conduct. Cities like Berkeley should take stock of how many of their very own first responders in the business in their cities of saving lives were trained in the military. I would remind you also, and I remember vividly, because I was about to go on active duty about the time Vietnam was ended. Our heroes came back to Vietnam and were spit on. Some of the hippies that did the spitting cut their hair, got into positions in cities, and have found new, figuratively effective ways of spitting on our military. But everyone should understand, Mr. Speaker, this is not taking away money for expressing free speech. It's simply not rewarding the obstruction of providing for the common defense, since it will cost additional money to overcome the obstruction to our military readiness. The Military Freedom Act takes money from the appropriate place to do that. This is the ultimate pay-go bill for military readiness and national security. In any event, I hope and I encourage the leaders, the majority leaders, the Democratic majority leaders of this body to bring this bill to a vote and let the cities know we don't reward those who prevent our providing for the common defense. I yield back.
This gentleman from Georgia.